Hi, seventh grade. Welcome back. So I'm making this video on Monday. And you're watching it on Tuesday. So I'm gonna go over the exit ticket data. So far, 71 students have done it. It is 142, and I know that sometimes we fall behind. So I will go over this exit ticket data because it is important to see what were the mistakes that we made, not just one person, but in general as a whole grade, and what were some of the things that we did well. Okay. Um, so summary. So this is where we are. This is out of 71 students. So 12 students got a perfect. Good job. 11 got a 9. 13 got an 8. And 12 got a 7. The goal was to have at least 7. Okay. So if you're in this category, it's okay. Just be careful. The exit ticket today is going to be similar to the one that we're going to go over right now. Okay, let's go over some of these. And a lot of these are UC Davis kids. I haven't done it because I have you guys last. So the best definition of the word sack in this first paragraph is to capture or plunder. When you sack a city, that means you're attacking it and you're taking everything. Okay. Which of the following describes, or which of the following is most likely connected to the Renaissance? This is a concern. Okay, I will go over again. I will go over this timeline again. If you pick 500 BCE to 500 CE, that's incorrect. That's the classical period. If you pick 500 CE to 1300 CE, that's incorrect. That is the Middle Ages. So the classical period is the first one. The Middle Ages is the middle one, and the Renaissance is this one. More students pick that one, but it's still pretty low score. The word Renaissance does mean rebirth of classical civilization. What did the people of the Renaissance think of the Middle Ages? They thought of it as a dark period. They thought of it as a period when knowledge was lost, when people went backwards, right? When people did not live good lives. They did not want to copy it. They saw it as a dark period in time, and they wanted to move away from it. They wanted to bring back the classical period. What allowed Italy to become very wealthy during this time period in the Renaissance? Trade, right? Italy was, and we'll talk about it today, Italy was in a really good location for many different reasons, right? Location in terms of the location of the Roman Empire, and also location because it was able to control trade and make money out of that. Italy did not take over other places and charge taxes. I made that up. And what continent the Renaissance happened? I am surprised that some students pick Asia and North America. The Renaissance happened in Europe, right? Italy is located in Europe. Which of the following is true about the Renaissance? It started right after the Middle Ages, and it started in the city-state of Florence. Florence is also the place where Leonardo da Vinci was born, in a small town called Vinci. If you said it started in France, I never said that in the video. Or that it started right after the classical period. That's also incorrect. We'll talk about that today as well. Which of the following that the Renaissance tried to recreate? They tried to bring back Greece and Rome. 3 people think it's the Aztecs in Rome. Like, where does that come from? Some of these answers that you're selecting are, I'm not sure if you're just guessing, but you can always go back and watch the video again. This one was a struggle because of the word accept. Which of these help? All of these help develop the Renaissance, except what, right? People moved from small states to large growing towns. That helped the Renaissance. Europeans were sent on a quest to capture the Holy Land. That helped the Renaissance. More books were written. That helped the Renaissance. The one that did not help develop the Renaissance was most people lived and worshiped in small communities. That has nothing to do with the Renaissance. In the video, Mr. Merlos made a comment about how the Renaissance wasn't all that different from the Middle Ages. What evidence did I use? The evidence that I used said that the lives of most people did not change. Most people still live very difficult lives. There were people that benefited from the Renaissance, but it was a very small group of people. Humanism refers to focusing on human ideas, not just religion. Focusing on human knowledge, human achievement, human beauty. And then for this one, someone asked me, why did you ask this question? Well, in the Renaissance, They were very wealthy people that were able to use money, some of the extra money that they had, to create things, to pay for art, to pay for sculptures, to pay for books to be written, to pay for engineering, to pay for architecture, right? And I want you to get the idea that a lot of times people do this because they want their name associated with greatness, right? Today, I gave this example to my live classes today. If I had $1 billion and I was gonna donate 100 million, I would want to donate it to animal shelters because I love animals. But I am selfish. I want something in return, right? I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do something with this money that'll benefit me, right? And this is what the people of the Renaissance did. They they donated money to buildings. They donated money to libraries, right? I would donate it to a university, a very prestigious university, Harvard, Yale, Stanford. Why? Because I want to be associated with them. And when my kids are old enough, I want them to be admitted to those universities. So you see, I'm doing something good, but I also want something in return because that's what I want. And this is what happened in the Middle Ages. Okay, let's go over some of these notes. These videos are a little longer because there is a lot of information that we need to cover. Okay. So here we have in red the classical period. It lasts between 500 and 500 BC to 500 CE. This is the classical period. That includes Greece. I'm going to make this red. This is Greece and Rome. Okay? And in Greece and Rome, we have some incredible achievements. We have Pythagoras, the mathematician, Hippocrates, the scientist. Oh, he developed science. There's something called the Hippocratic Oath that doctors take today that swears that they will not harm their patients. And this comes from this guy. Earth moves around the sun. Pulley system science, drama, acting, poems, philosophers, some of the most amazing philosophers in history. Columns are, if you have a building, the columns are what holds the building up, okay? Sculpture. In Rome, we have murals. It's a type of art. They have laws. They have aqueducts to carry water. They have roads, sculptures, arches, and domes. And we'll talk about those when we get to them. I'll also talk about the columns. The Colosseum, literature, concrete stones. So this is considered like an amazing time period in history in Europe, right? Something that should be celebrated. And then after Rome, we have this time period. After the classical period, we have this time period. This period known as the Middle Ages. And the Middle Ages lasts between 500 and approximately 1300, right? When life goes back to being very difficult. Life is very difficult this time. There's constant warfare. There is a lack of innovation. I made this comment with my last class, right? If there's a town, a poor town, and there's a rich town, where are things more likely to develop? For example, are people more likely to write new books in a poor or rich town? Are people more likely to develop new inventions in the poor or rich town? Are people more likely to develop a new form of government, poor, rich town? New form of mathematics, new form of arts, right? So yes, great things do happen in poor towns, but chances are rich towns tend to be more, they tend to produce more, right? Probably because they have connections to other rich towns, right? There's more wealth here. And people are able to use that wealth to create new things. And if you think about it, the Middle Ages was more like a poor town, right? Things were much more difficult. There was much more warfare in the Middle Ages, right? There was a lack of centralized government. It was a difficult time. So people of the Renaissance saw that as a dark period. they saw it as a period that they wanted to avoid, right? And they wanted to recreate. They wanted to bring this back. They wanted to use this. Okay? The problem with that is that the Middle Ages is very, very important. The Middle Ages is very, very heavy on religion. And religion is going to be a huge part of the Renaissance. Okay? So again, to summarize, so we have the classical period, Greece and Rome, the Middle Ages, and then the Renaissance. The Renaissance is a rebirth of classical civilization. Okay? Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. So Marco Polo, besides the fact that it's based on a game on a pool that we yell Marco and the other person yells Polo. Marco Polo was from Italy, and in the 1200s, so in the Middle Ages, he traveled to Asia. He traveled to China, and he stayed in China for like 20 years, right? And on the way back, he picked up all this knowledge from Asia and also parts of other from China and other parts of Asia, and he came back. And when he came back, he wrote a book. He wrote a book talking about the amazing world that he has seen, the incredible materials that he has seen, right? And that encourages people to want what he's talking about. That encourages trade. And you will see that trade is the thing that funds the Renaissance. Without money, there is no Renaissance. Without trade, there is no Renaissance. You need the money. Merchants need to make money in order to pay for artists, in order to pay for buildings, in order to create the city of Florence. So trade is very important. So I'm not going to talk too much about him, but I want you to remember that he is a person that helps develop the Renaissance, not because he's like, oh, I'm going to help develop the Renaissance. No, because Renaissance, he develops an interest in the outside world, outside of Europe, outside world, and demand and increase trade. Okay, so his travels encourage people to want more things that they have seen outside of Europe. So increase in trade, and trade is going to benefit Italy the most. The Crusades, very similar to this guy, but the Crusades happen. They actually happen a little later, actually earlier. They kind of overlap. So the Crusades, if you remember the Crusaders were trying to take over the Holy Land, right? And they fail in their conquest. But again, you have to remember that Europeans are able to be exposed to the outside world. So exposure to the outside world. Crusaders also come back. Crusaders also come back with stories of what they saw, and that also increases trade. Okay, that also increases trade because the Crusaders tell Europeans of what they see. They learn of new technologies. They learn of new materials, and Europeans want this, right? Again, Italy is right in between. So when Crusaders are going to the Holy Land, they are stopping by Italy, and Italy is able to make money out of them as well. Okay, when traders are trading from Asia into Europe, they go through Italy, thereby making Italy wealthy. At the root of it, it has to do with trade. Okay, I know this picture is a little intense, but here we go. So the Byzantine Empire is the Eastern Roman Empire. Okay, if you remember, after the Roman Empire split in half, all that was left was this: the Eastern Roman, the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire will eventually be conquered, so it's slowly being chewed up. You see, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Eventually, it gets to Eventually, it gets to, let's say, here. Okay, you see how small it is now, and then it gets to this. Okay, and you remember from yesterday. If you remember from yesterday, I talked about how the Eastern Roman Empire had preserved. The Eastern Roman Empire had preserved classical knowledge. Classical knowledge had not been lost. The Eastern Roman Empire had preserved, the scholars of the Eastern Roman Empire had preserved or kept this knowledge alive. But the problem is that as the Muslims are attacking the Byzantine Empire, the scholars flee. And guess where they go? They go to Italy, but bringing their knowledge of the classical period into Italy. That doesn't happen until 1453, though. So this is just an addition of information for the Renaissance. So impact on the development of the Renaissance is classical knowledge is brought into Europe. Okay, into Europe from the Byzantine scholars. Why did the Renaissance start in Italy? It all comes down to money, money, and more money. And that is as a result of location. Location, okay? Another reason why I started in Italy was because this was the home of the Roman Empire, the center of the Roman Empire. And Italians were able to see the ruins of the old Roman Empire, and they're like, oh, we could do this again. So they're heavily influenced by these ruins, by this, what they see in the Roman Empire. Okay, I'm gonna read this. This will probably be on your exit ticket. So causes. What did this cause? Okay, so it's quite a bit of reading. Then we also have a video. Hopefully today's video won't be so long. Okay, cause of the Renaissance. The Renaissance in Italy was made possible by the country's wealth, richness from trade. Simple as that. Because the Italian peninsula sticks out into the Mediterranean Sea, there were many trade routes between the east and west. So here's Italy. You see how the Italian peninsula sticks out? Right? It's able to control trade this way and trade this way. Because the Italian peninsula sticks out into the Mediterranean Sea, there are many trade routes between the east and the west. As merchants, a merchant is a person that trades, travel from China to the Byzantine Empire and into Africa and other parts of the world. They often passed. They often pass. Where was I? They often passed through the Italian peninsula. The reopening of the Silk Road for trade also gave people access to goods from the east. Trade made city-states of Italy very rich. You'll see that in Italy we have bankers that lend money, right? Most people in Europe still work as farmers, but Italy was rich. International trading centers with bankers, merchants, and lawyers. These people paid for the artists, sculptors, writers, and architects of the Renaissance, right? If you think about San Francisco, some of them, some of the very wealthy people in San Francisco and the Bay Area are donating a lot of money to hospitals, to libraries, to different charities, because they have excess money. They have more money. So here I have a note. The Silk Road was a series of routes that connected Eastern Europe to Asia. It helped build the economy in Europe by making the trading method popular. Okay, so for cause you can say trade. Oh, sorry. Trade made Italy wealthy. I don't have an effect, okay? Effect is, this wealth was used by these people to fund the Renaissance. During the Middle Ages, after the fall of the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire became the most powerful nation in the region. Again, the Byzantine Empire is the Eastern Roman Empire. Byzantine scholars kept much of that technology and culture of both the Romans and the Greeks. After the Byzantine Empire fell, many scholars from the Byzantine Empire left and went to Europe, Italy, bringing knowledge of the classic books to Europe. This added to the Renaissance starting. Byzantine scholars go to Europe. Thereby, the effect is they bring their knowledge with them. The Crusades also helped the Renaissance develop. The Crusades are these wars, remember? The Crusaders traveled outside of Europe, right? They're going this way. When they traveled, the Europeans saw that there was a world outside of their own continent, and that the outside world was richer and more developed, spurring the interest in growth. The Crusades also produced a lot of profit, money for the Italian merchant families that sent men and supplies from Europe to the Middle East. The Italian merchants or traders, families then had enough money to hire the artists that created all the art of the Renaissance. Okay. Crusades cause. Actually, we're gonna skip that one for now. Marco Polo was an Italian. We talked about this already. Italian traveler. He comes from Venice. With his father and uncle, he traveled to China. When he returned home to Europe, he told people about his travels. Many actually didn't believe him. This made Europeans want to have new goods from the East. He brought back many ideas and inventions. Okay, so we have some of these are going to appear in your exit ticket, just so you know. Let's watch this very short video. So again, some of these questions on the exit ticket are going to appear again on your exit ticket for Tuesday.
Hey everybody, it's the History Teacher. This episode looks at the Italian Renaissance. Renaissance is a French word which means rebirth. The Renaissance was an intellectual, cultural, and artistic flourishing that occurred first in Italy between about 1300 and 1550. The Renaissance emphasized new learning and artistic expressions, and the rediscovery of knowledge and perspective from ancient Greece and Rome. Italian city-states such as Venice, Milan, Padua, Pisa, and especially Florence were the core of many Renaissance developments. It should be noted, though, that the impact of the Renaissance was limited to a small portion of the population, the rich elite. For everyone else, their lives continued unaffected by any advancements of the Renaissance. The main themes of the Renaissance were humanism, individualism, and virtue. Humanism refers to the reading and understanding of writings and ideals of ancient Greece and Rome before.
So, just heads up, you are going to be seeing images like this one with their nudes. I do expect that you are mature enough to handle this. Let me rewind this a little bit.
Humanism refers to the reading and understanding of writings and ideals of ancient Greece and Rome before the spread of Christianity. Renaissance scholars observe that because ancient Greece and Rome were pre-Christian, they were not God-centered like medieval Europe was, but people-centered. That's the essence of humanism.
So I kind of disagree with that. So the Greece and Rome, they were pre-Christian. I mean, Rome was a little Christian towards the end, but what he's saying is that Greece and Rome focused on humans, on human ideas, human beauty, understanding humans, the development of ideas based on the intellect, based on human brains. And the medieval period was focused primarily on religious ideas of salvation, of getting to heaven. And the people of the Renaissance wanted to be more influenced by the classical period and focus on humanism instead of just religion.
Individualism refers to the emphasis on individual expression, individual value, and individual action, as opposed to emphasizing group or community behavior, which was the main medieval perspective. Renaissance individualism valued great accomplishments and looked for heroes in history. Virtue, spelled virtu, no E at the end, refers to people working to realize their full human potential through the cultivation of their abilities. These abilities could be in art, speech, politics, and warfare, for example. Someone trying to maximize her or his potential would be pursuing Renaissance virtue. So what caused the Renaissance? Several origins can be identified. First, Italian economic growth. Northern Italy was very wealthy because it served as a trading hub between the silk and spice producing east and the consuming west of England, France, and Germany. Also, Italian merchants had built great wealth in the cloth industry and developed international banks. This wealth gave the upper class leisure to produce new ideas and the money to support the artists and scholars who produced new works. A second cause was political. Struggles between the papacy, the Holy Roman Empire, and merchants during the Middle Ages had resulted in the independence of many small city-states in northern Italy. The governments of these city-states, often controlled by one man, competed for prestige by supporting artists and scholars.
In Florence is the Medici family. They are the wealthy, most powerful family in Europe at this time. Some of them actually become popes. They are able to fund the Renaissance. There's another family called the Sforza family in a different city states, and they kind of compete with one another who can make the most beautiful city. So the Renaissance is based on competition as well.
A third cause was that northern Italian city-states were often built on the ruins of ancient Roman ones, and the citizens knew of their heritage. It was easy to become interested in the ancient past when the ruins of a great civilization were scattered about. A fourth cause was the arrival in Italy of people who were fleeing the falling Byzantine Empire. These people brought with them new ideas, including the study of Greek, knowledge of which had been forgotten outside of Greece. Therefore, no ancient Greek texts could be understood. Humanist writers were inspired by and imitated works of the classical past, meaning ancient Greece and Rome. Classical literature was more secular, that is, non-religious, and wide-ranging than that of the Middle Ages. The first truly Renaissance writer was Petrarch, who lived from 1304 to 1374. He wrote in both Latin and Italian, promoted the study of ancient Rome, collected and preserved work of ancient writers, and produced much work in the classical literary style. He's best known for his sonnets, including many expressing his love for a married woman named Laura, and is considered the father of humanism. Boccaccio, who lived from 1313 to 1375, wrote the Decameron, a collection of short stories. It was written in Italian rather than in Latin, and was meant to entertain the reader rather than offer religious lessons. But
So just based on this, you will see that um, writers in the Renaissance are heavily influenced by the classical period, and they also begin to write. They also begin to write in the language that people can actually understand. In the medieval period, most of it was written in Latin, and Latin is a language that only church officials can read or write. So you'll see that the Renaissance is a complete shift, right? You have achievements in arts and sculpture and architecture, in science, in technology, in medicine. You have some people like Martin Luther who challenges the church. You have people that challenge the church by saying that the earth is not the center of the universe. The Renaissance is this one period in time that, although it's very limited to a very small group of people, it completely challenges medieval ideas and medieval authority. Please try to get at least 75% on your video. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.